To Live Is To Die was a song that I think put some of our grief, we put some of our grief into it directly, in a subtle way, you know, a remembrance. You know, he's influenced our lives, and he helped us to become more musical. He helped us to be a lot more focused. He was really a powerful human, and you know, we've all learned what we needed to from him in the short time we knew him. And I still believe he lives. He you know, he lives in us all still.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what side of the world you're in. Welcome to Make Sister Cry reaction video, episode 2.
from the classic metal instrumentals. One of the first, you know.
You want to allow me to feel and express what I'm feeling?
Yes.
Even though I can't. That absolutely did feel like a journey. It forced me to tap into, you know, it kind of felt kind of dark, kind of gloomy.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Glad you like it. That's a taste of history right there. That's one of the first big time metal albums. Imagine, I mean, metal is new, and imagine hearing this for the first time as a kid, where, you know, we take for granted all the metal that came after it, but the music of that time was so
Raw,
good, so good, yeah.
Fresh.
But that's why Metallica is such a big band, because they changed the game as far as look how good metal can really sound.
Today we are doing a tribute to
Cliff Burton.
Yeah.
Kind of fades out there a little bit.
Flap. What the flap?
All right.
Holy crap.
Like, no amount of explanation could have prepared you for what that was.
I was not ready for that. I was not ready for that.
It is some just...
I've
It's
never, you know, I love bass. I love bass guitar. You know that. And I don't think that was...
That's a lot to wrap your head.
I don't think I've ever heard anything like that. Ever. What's good?
And that early.
What?
Talking the 80s, this young dude just destroying those strings. That's why it was such a bummer. That was such a bummer. Imagine what he could have became. That early in his life, he was that good. Imagine what could have came after. Oh, it's such a disappointment. You know, it's so sad.
I'm disappointed. The thing is, he's new to me.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've already having a connection to him, so I can only imagine what people like you got, you know?
Yeah.
On September 27th, 1986, the band was traveling by bus on the road between Stockholm and Copenhagen.
On that European tour, you know, we had a really bad bus.
These particular buses weren't purpose-built that we have now. They have normal windows like a passenger coach, and the bunks are just bolted in. Then they put cardboard over the windows.
Earlier that night, a friendly dispute between Kirk and Cliff over sleeping arrangements concluded with a draw of cards.
The first card that Cliff picked was the ace of spades, and he looked at me and said, "I want your bunk." And I said, "Fine, take my bunk, I'll sleep up front. That's probably better anyway, you know." Later on that night, at about 5 or 6 in the morning, I heard a skidding, I heard a vibration, and then this motion. I thought we were going off a cliff.
He overcorrected to get back onto the road, and as he did, the back end came around this way, and it started chomp, chomp, chomp.
It's the sound of screeching brakes and being flipped around like a piece of clothes on a dryer.
Just got woke up, like hot coffee getting poured all over me, you know, from the coffee machine, and, you know, the bus was on its side.
What happened? Is the bus gonna blow up?
I jumped out of the bus, took off, did the 100-yard dash in about 7 seconds flat.
And we're standing out there in our underwear and, you know, 10 below.
And I heard everyone screaming except for Cliff. And I thought, oh my God, something's wrong.
Seeing the bus driver just, you know, freaking frantic.
And I turned around and I saw Cliff's legs sticking out from underneath the bus.
Oh my God.
I went to, you know, pull him out, wake him up or whatever. It's like, you know, he's not moving.
And the driver walked over and started pulling on the blanket that was underneath the bus next to Cliff. And I said, "What are you doing?"
I grabbed him. Don't you take that away from him.
Against all odds, the band hoped that somehow, some way, Cliff could be saved.
A crane turned up, a big crane with a jib and all that, and they hooked up a chain around the bus, and they picked the bus up.
There's still people trapped under the bus, but everyone else was okay.
I don't know if Cliff was dead at this point or not, because the bus actually slipped back after they picked it up. They lifted it, to pull him out, and it slipped back and landed again on the floor.
After that, I was in such shock that everything else for the next 3 or 4 hours, I can't even remember.
Kirk and James yelling at the driver.
What did you do? What did you do?
What happened? You know, what's going on? You know, is this guy drunk or la la la? Oh, we hit some black ice. And I recall in my underwear, you know, and socks, walking for miles, looking for this black ice, walking back on. Where's this black ice? I don't see any black ice. And I wanted to kill this guy. I was gonna end him there.
Early Saturday morning, September 27th, 1986, on the road near Ljungby, Sweden, Cliff Burton died. He was 24 years old.
He just got thrown out the window and boom, the bus landed on him. And basically, by all accounts, I mean, he never woke up.
You know, to this day, I just think, you know, it could have been me, it couldn't have been me, but it's never left me to this day.
You always feel protected on tour. Nothing bad can happen like this. It's not allowed. You know what I mean? This is rock and roll, man. Nobody dies, but they do, and it had happened, and it was hard to grasp that.
Drinkers we were. We went back to the hotel and just drank, you know?
I remember at 4 o'clock in the morning, I could hear James down on the street, drunk, screaming, Cliff, where are you? And when I heard that, I just broke into tears, you know?
Within hours, news of Cliff's death reached Metallica's fans in America. One such fan was Flotsam and Jetsam bassist Jason Newsted.
That was the
I
replacement.
remember tears hitting the newspaper. Killed in Sweden, Metallica bassist Cliff Burton, 24 years old or whatever, and I'm just lost it.
Lars, James, and Kirk returned to San Francisco to attend the funeral of their friend and bandmate.
Lars took over from then on, and you know, in all fairness to Lars, without Lars Ulrich, that band wouldn't be where they are today.
That's what happened. 24 years old.
24 years old.
Yep. You know, it's funny. I remember once I was trying to impress you with a guy playing guitar, and you looked at him and you're like, have you ever seen Prince play the guitar?
Yeah.
That dude is just
I remember
effortlessly jamming on it and stuff. And I'm like, this is good, but I mean, come on. Have you ever seen Prince play? There's people who are just on a different level than other people.
And he was definitely, I can't believe he's 24 years old. That talented.
Yeah, he would have just gotten better. It's ridiculous to think about, but
I'm so sorry.
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Are you ready to get your teeth pulled?
I'm ready. I'm so corny, I'm
Are
sorry.
you ready to do it, Cliff? Mr. Cliff Burton, all right.
All right.
Oh, yeah, that's a difference.
See the little difference here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So juicy.
So beautiful. Oh my God, it's much more fluid.
Absolutely delicious. before. Look how perfect that is.
Oh my God! Oh! I'm done. This is it. That's it.
Man can jam for hours.
He was born to do that, you know?
Yes.
He just,
That's why he's inspired so many bases after him.
ooh!
So ahead of his
Oh my
time.
God! Where has he been all my life? Holy crap! Why is this your first time introducing this to me?
Format. That's the beautiful thing about what we're doing now. There's so much beauty in metal that you have yet to explore.
Yeah.
Good old magic crowd. They're also young. Look perplexed. Together they were perfection. Yeah. That's why I gave you that tissue. It's like night and day. Okay, I'm sorry. Now you're gonna make me cry.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
we're gonna have to cut because she's gonna have to blow her nose. We apologize.
Oh my God. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like that was. Let me put my glasses on. I don't think I've ever experienced something like that in my life. It sounds so weird, but I felt like the music began to live inside of me. I felt like I was the music, the music was me. I know it sounds so stupid, but I felt like it really just took a hold of me. It was so beautiful. I've never experienced. I feel like I was like right there with them. Like I was right there with them. I'm such a cornball.
That was beautiful, baby.
That was so electrifying.
It's beautiful that someone who's been gone for so long can still touch people, you know? So that's why we're doing it. It's a beautiful thing. anyone who hasn't heard of Cliff or hasn't thought about him in a while, it's nice to revisit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
So when I was 16 years old and hanging out with, all these other guitar players, we had found this place called the International Cafe in Berkeley, and they would let us in. We were underage, and there's this band called Easy Street that was playing. And I was checking them out, me and my friends, and it looked like they were a cover band. And so they started to play all these cover songs, and I noticed that the bass player was this red-haired freak who's just was doing this slow motion headbang, but it wasn't called headbanging back then.
Right.
It was just this slow motion thing. I was thinking, that guy's nuts. And then his amp blew in the second song. So instead of just leaving the stage, you know what Cliff did? And it was Cliff.
Whoa.
In retrospect, he sat in front of his bass amp cabinet, right against it. The band played on, and he just sat there and headbanged throughout the rest of the set.
Like on the sideline.
Yes.
Like I'm out, but I'm over here still with you guys.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And so 2 or 3 years later, I'm with Paul Bailoff. We go to the Stone, and who do I see in Trauma? The same fucking bass player playing the same way, but now he has a wah pedal, and his sound is completely different. And I remember saying to Bailoff, that guy is making this fucking band. And then literally 3 weeks later, Bailoff calls me up and says, guess who's in Metallica now? Trauma bass player. I'm like, no! Oh my God, they're gonna be fucking so much better than the other guy they got.
Oh man.
And then literally 4 weeks later, I get the phone call to join Metallica.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I was so stoked was because I would get to finally meet this guy who I saw on Easy Street and in Trauma, and just find out what he's all about. I was more curious about him as a person than anything else.
Yeah.
And so I remember when I first went out there to audition for the band, Cliff was the first person I met, because James and Lars were still sleeping. It was 6 o'clock in the evening, and Cliff had been up for a while. And so I hung out with Cliff and figured out that, he was a pretty cool guy, very level-headed, very comfortable in his own skin, even though he was just such a fucking freak to me and so weird and different. He had a confidence about him that you can tell just right away, just right off the bat. And then over the course of that week, I saw him reading a H.P. Lovecraft book that was a module for Dungeons and Dragons.
Really?
Yeah, and I had that same book because I was into Dungeons and Dragons and I was into H.P. Lovecraft. So I had the same book. I said, bro, I have that book. You're into it. He goes, oh yeah, I love it. H.P. Lovecraft. And I like zombies too. I'm like, bro, I'm a horror guy. I fucking love zombies too. And him and I bonded.
Wow.
And Cliff's very most favorite movie of all time was Dawn of the Dead.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he wore the shirt.
Yeah, all the time. Absolutely.
Every Cliff Burton bass solo I've ever heard is a soulful, psychedelic, head-banging expression that rocks your world, trips your brain out, and gets the house rocking. And when I hear him play, I hear a dude that knew his shit. He was a serious musician who delved into it with all the love and passion that is obvious in his playing. The space that he created in the history of music will last forever. No one else can ever fill it. He was one of a kind, and I can never listen to any Metallica record without thinking of him. It is clear that the gift he gave lives on in that band's music, be he live or be he dead. And I say, God bless Cliff Burton, he rules.
Some of you probably already know of, particularly young people, say, how did Cliff get started in the bass, playing the bass? He used to watch Barney Miller, a comedian of pop thing, and he loved that bass it was played at the beginning of it, a bass solo. And so he came to his mother and me and said, can you help me get started playing a bass guitar? And so we helped him, and the rest is history. So anyway,